Hey guys, this is Jessica. Welcome back to the Retro Farmhouse. I'm sitting here in front of my table because my lighting is best over here. It's just kind of a gloomy day, which I'm sure it's kind of like that in lots of areas right now. And just wanted to come on and do this quick little project for you. I have been kind of doing some early spring cleaning, decluttering, reorganizing closets, just kind of simplifying a lot of things. And getting that clutter out, and it kind of gave me these ideas of some ways that I could remake or reuse some things that I already had as storage containers. And I know I probably could have just gone to like the dollar store or something like that. They have some great items as well to use for organization, and you know, it's cheap, it's only $1. But I wanted to see if there was other ways that I could reincorporate items that I was throwing away. Just to repurpose those into items that I could use to, you know, organize closets or drawers or different things like that. So that's what today's project consists of, just items that I found around my house. Mostly everything was items I already had. The only thing I had to purchase was just some fabric, which you'll see in the video here. I liked those particular placemats that I purchased, and I knew that I probably ended up using them for something, and they were at a really good price. And that also gives ideas of some things, like look around at discount stores if you're looking for fabric to use for this type of project, or even the thrift stores. Sometimes they have things you know, really cheap that you can reuse, or even at garage sales, yard sales, lots of things like that. So hope this gives you guys some inspiration. So let's get into today's project. So for my first project, I wanted to make some little first aid tins. So I'm taking my tins here. If you have any that have these symbols on them or anything like that that's raised, a lot of times you can take the nail polish and get that off. My other one doesn't do that. So what I'm going to show you here is I'm just painting this with a darker spray paint first, and then I'm going to spray paint with my white. A lot of times that helps to cover any kind of designs or anything on these tins. And the paint I'm using is a Krylon chalky finish in classic white. And I'm just applying some even light coats. I find that to be the easiest, letting it dry in between each coats. I think I ended up having to apply maybe 2 to 3 coats on these and just let them dry. I want to apply a design on the middle of this with the little red cross, so I'm just finding where my center is, and then I'm going to draw my cross on here. And then basically this is a way you can do this if you don't have a silhouette machine. I'm just taking some painter's tape after that, and I'm going to space that accordingly to where I can make my plus sign. Once I've done that, I'm just taking some black and green acrylic paint, and I'm just mixing that together to create more of a hunter green. And I'm going to just use my little makeup sponge here, and I'm going to sponge that on as a stencil. For the second one, I'm just showing you here that I created a little first aid stencil for my little square box, and I'm going to apply this, and then I'm going to just take some red craft paint with the same method, and just using my little makeup sponge, I'm just going to dab that on. Again, a small amount of paint on your little brush is better than globbing a bunch on there. I find I get less bleed through. For my next project, I'm using these little placemats I got from the local Ollie's store. I got these for 99 cents a piece, and I really just loved the pattern on these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my boxes here that I have left over from food items. I like to use the sturdier cardboard boxes. I feel like they just work a little bit better, and I'm going to use that to kind of cover my box here. So because I don't want to use the same thing on the inside, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the inside white. Really, you could skip this step. You don't even have to do this step, but I just want it to be kind of white and bright in there. I find that if I have lighter items on the inside of my boxes, it just makes it easier to see the items. But again, you could do like fabric on the inside, or you don't have to place anything on the inside here at all. Next, I'm just going to cut my tags off, and then I want to cut this fringe off. I don't want that as part of it at first. Later on, I'm going to add this as a little detail onto my boxes. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to put my right sides together, and I'm going to sew down through here, and I'm going to kind of create just a little cover to go over top of this. Now if you don't sew, that's okay. You can just take like some hot glue and just do the same method and apply this onto there and just kind of fold over your rough edges to make sure that it's not going to fray. So now you see here, I'm just putting that onto my box, kind of like I'm just putting a little slip cover on a couch, and I'm going to try to get that to where my design is in the middle. For the bottom part, I'm just going to create it like I'm wrapping a package. I don't want all this bulk material to be on here, so I'm just trying to fold it over right here and just cut that excess off to where the material is just going to meet right there. And then after that, I just take my hot glue. This is actually the bottom, and I'm just going to hot glue these pieces onto the bottom here. Now for the rest of my material, I'm just going to take that and stuff that inside my box, and I'm just going to hot glue that here and there to make sure it's secure, and I'm going to make sure that I pull the material pretty taut so that there's no, extra material or gaping anywhere. Next, I'm just going to take my leftover fringe and I'm putting some hot glue on there so that I can fold down my edge so it doesn't fray. And then I'm just going to use this as a little decorative trim to put around my box. Here you'll see I'm basically doing the same thing with my smaller box with another placemat that I have. I'm just kind of wrapping it around like a present and cutting off any excess. I ended up having to use two, and for this the sides didn't completely cover that. So what I had to end up doing was I took another piece and I cut just the black pattern part off, and I kind of just created a little square and I covered that up on the sides. And for this project, I am just going to add a little bit of decorative touches to these jars here. I know a lot of people have painted them, they do lots of other different things, so I'm just going to create like a little matching cover that matches my boxes over top of this. So basically I'm just going to sew that together, and then I'm taking the top and I'm going to spray paint that white. And here you see I have put together this little slip cover for my jar. It just gives it a little bit of decorative element, and it didn't cost me a whole lot. I just used the extra fabric. For my next project, I am using my Minwax stain that I love in Early American, and I'm just taking some of these scrap pieces, and what I did was I wanted to create a wood box for storage. I know a lot of people like to use the baskets. I like using baskets and some wood elements in my decorating of my home, and so I just kind of cut these out and sanded them really good and rounded the edges, and now I'm just staining them with one coat of my stain here. So the way that I cut these out, I made the bottom piece first, and then I made both of my side pieces longer, and then I'm going to apply both my front piece and my back piece. So in order to do that, I like to use a combination of wood glue and finishing nails, and I have to drill the pilot holes. I do not currently own a pneumatic nail gun. That is something I want to get in the future. But for right now, I just do it this way. It does take a little bit longer, but it's not any big deal. So I'm taking my wood glue here, and I'm just going to place that with my sides, and then I like to use clamps to hold these in place, and then here you'll just see me drill my pilot holes first, and then I'm just going to take my finishing nails and put those into my wood here to hold them together. For my last step, because I want these to look more old and vintage, I'm just taking some brown craft paint and I'm just painting the tops of my nail heads just so it blends in a little bit better with my wood. Now next, I wanted to add this little hardware that I had, so I'm finding the center of the front of my box, and I kind of wanted to give this appearance of maybe an old drawer or maybe like an old little sewing drawer. So I'm just going to take this here, these are the little vintage hardware that I have, and I'm just going to drill a hole and I'm going to apply those. And because you might notice a slight color difference here, I ended up not liking the faded cream yellow color of the knob. These are actually plastic, they're not porcelain or anything like that, so I actually just spray painted that with some white paint. For my last project, I wanted to make some decorative wall organizers for like mail or paper. So I'm just taking my extra wood here and I'm marking 2 inches at the bottom and 4 inches at the top. I'm just gonna create this diagonal line here, and that's gonna be my cut line, and I'm gonna make 2 pieces out of this. So I'm gonna make one taller one and one shorter one. And for the front pieces, I'm just taking this leftover paint stir sticks, and I'm just going to cut off this edge here, and then also this other scrap piece I have, that's going to be the front of my smaller one. To secure these to the wall, I just took a little piece of my jute twine here and I stapled that with my staple gun onto the back of each sides to give this a loop for the nails to hang onto. Now, if you have something heavier, you most certainly could use like any other type of hanging hardware, but this just worked for me for what I'm going to be repurposing it for. And just to add a little bit more of a decorative touch to it, I just decided to add some stencils onto the front of each of my boxes with just some of my white craft paint. And here's how today's projects turned out. I just love how my little matching boxes turned out, and the little jars as well. These make a great little addition to some of my closets that I plan on organizing things. And also my little first aid tins. I just love these to be able to kind of corral all those things like band-aids and bandages and ointment and different things like that. It kind of reminds me of the vintage ones you can find in the antique stores. One of the projects that I absolutely love are these little drawers. They kind of remind me of little vintage drawers or little vintage sewing drawers. And I think adding the little hardware on just gave it that little last minute creative touch. And lastly, my little wall organizers. I just love these to organize magazines or files or papers, or you can even put these on the inside of cabinets or doors just to kind of corral some other little things. But I just love these with a little stencil, or you could also add some greenery or flowers to these as well to dress up any wall. Thank you guys so much again for subscribing today. I hope you liked today's projects. If you did, consider hitting the like button for me, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. That really helps to support my channel. And stay tuned, we'll have some more DIYs coming up next time. Thanks again, guys.